Before dawn on November 18th, Ukraine launched a ballistic missile strike at a Russian arms depot about 70 miles across the border. It was the first time they used an American-made ballistic missile to hit a target inside of Russia. So the ballistic missile used in this strike is known as an Army tactical missile. It is a class of ballistic missiles that fire different ranges. Ukraine has wanted these weapons in pleaded form for years. The United States sent the first batch of these in 2023, but those were limited in their range to about 100 miles, and the Ukrainians could only use them to strike within Russian-occupied territory in Ukraine. Then the United States sent longer range weapons, which can reach about 190 miles, but they were not allowed to use to strike inside of Russia. Now, President Biden lifted that restriction, and within 48 hours, we saw this weapon being used on the battlefield.
У України є далекобійні можливості, і тепер у нас є атакамс. І ми все це будемо використовувати.
And by doing that, at the very least, they hope to slow that Russian offensive, relieve some pressure on overstretched Ukrainian forces on the defensive and in some places retreating. Of course, no single weapon is in itself going to change the course of the war, but Ukraine hopes to be able to cause pain to Russia and force them to negotiate and accept a deal that Kiev will find both just, fair, and lasting. Right now, we have a Biden administration that's leaving office.
I've also directed the Pentagon to allocate all the remaining security assistance funding by the end of my term.
It's got $7 billion in aid that it has to basically raise here out of concern that the incoming Trump administration might reverse those policies. Trump has not said what he wants to do aside from he wants to end this war.
I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly.
How he hopes to achieve that, he hasn't said. Every indication is these next 2 or 3 months are going to be exceedingly violent. We're seeing that on the front line, partially because of the evolution of the weapons being used on the front, just making it incredibly deadly. And then you have Russia stepping up, once again, its bombardment of the nation, trying to basically break the state and break the will of the people. It's a tense moment, but over the last 3 years, there's rarely been a moment that hasn't been tense here in Ukraine.